Yo, yo! Let's pull this mic a bit closer. There we go. How's everybody doing? Um, Wild. Start off with that. Wild. There's ops for longs and shorts across the board today. Bunch of weakness in terms of sectors that have been strong recently. But then a bunch of one-off names, stuff like DATS, Sauna, Hoth, a bunch of stuff going nuts still in small caps. But then you've got stuff like QBTS, RGTI, Qubit, the Quantum Basket. You've got IONQ. You've got NVIDIA getting absolutely wrecked. I think it was the NVIDIA CEO, I believe, was on a interview towards the close and basically said that quantum was still like 10 or 15 years away or something. So that's why a bunch of these names got hit. So expect large gap downs across the quantum basket tomorrow. You've got stuff like Soon in the AI basket. I botched it, but we had that plan yesterday on this higher low trend break looking for 1950 fails. So I had joined my typical entry where we get that opening chop, opening range breakdown. It was a bit quick, so I shorted the bounce back into the opening range lows. And 1950, if I draw that line, that was right where low a day held, so I covered. Ended up bouncing pretty far, so I was like, okay, well, 1950 clearly from the watch list the night before, and then now this morning, 1950 is now a key level. Pulled back into it and held, so I'm not going to anticipate. But once it failed, now I'm like, okay, let me see some bounces. And there was just no bounces to get involved. So the proactive covers kept me safe in case this one was squeezing out, which it did bounce a bit farther than expected. But I would have had to be a bit early on that 1950 break. So I think it was a tougher trade. Like even if you look at this 2 minute, like just bounceless once that 1950 level failed. So unfortunate. Really minimized that opportunity. I'd love to catch $2 a share on all you can eat, but is what it is. MBOT was nice. You put it on radar. Yeah, I traded MBOT. That was my main one today. We were gapping down pretty large in pre-market, and the stock gods were looking out for me. And it came back with some nice strength into the open. Started in, added, and once we had these positions here, I was risking more off prior days highs. Typically overextended gap downs, I like pops versus red to green, but I didn't want to get stopped out before seeing a fail. So on those starters, I was risking yesterday's highs. And then after open, you can see my scales once I moved risk down to red to green. So I shorted, I covered, SSR was on, so I had to be a bit proactive with my entries as well. Shorted the bounce, covered, rescaled for some failed follow through, stayed heavy, which reclaimed. So I covered, was flat right here. Right around here, I was still holding a core. Here, I was flat back to zero. Put some back on, VWAP exhaustion, was a bit skittish. Tried it once more, got the low a day flush, but it didn't continue, so I moved on. So a nice little trade there. Wasn't great, but is average. Nice little trader. Failed follow through momentum. Wait for the parabolic. Right here, under 370s was the failed follow through, but we never got bounces, so I used this 320s as failed follow through. And this flush typically should bounce. It was fast, sped up the velocity in which it happened, and it didn't. It just held near lows. So I put some on with a tight risk of about 15 cents. but I covered for about 15 cents just because it wasn't breaking down and it needed one more push before completely falling apart. So screwed that one up too. But it is what it is. It happens. Why not reshort the breakdown to that level you covered at on soon? It's one of those things where I think it's easy to say now. So like right here, yes, I can hammer 1950s, but in order for me to stay in a, so like right here, let me start here. So this opening range lows is a typical entry spot for me. So I shorted the bounce back into it. Typically, this entry is with a risk on highs, but I kind of hit it just into weakness with wanting to see it start to fail through 1950. So that was the reason for the covers here. This bounce happened a bit farther than expected. So if this breakdown were to wick through or break through, maybe it pulls 1950 to 19. There's nothing saying that this isn't going to bounce back through 1950s, through red to green, something up here. So for me to manage risk on this, I feel like a 1950 entry, I would have had to risk versus highs. So I'd be risking $1 a share. I didn't expect it to go this far. I was looking for mid-18s. If we look left over here, I had drawn this level as the goal. So I was looking for 1950, 19 to confirm, and then a flush into 18s, the low 18s. So on a 1950 entry, I'm thinking there's a buck of downside. So for me to risk versus highs, I'm only getting a 1-to-1 trade. And maybe this is skewed slightly more than 50-50. So it's probably still a positive EV spot. But just given the risk reward that I thought was on the table, if I were to get a pull, a bounce back into 1950s and roll over, now I can be shorting into 1950s on that fail with risk on 1950s. But I just never got any confirmation that that level was going to continue. So in hindsight, you short 1950s and you never had to worry about anything. But with my risk first mindset, that was kind of what kept me out of the just hammering the lows again. Just those bounces along the way allow me to get tighter risk reward and add to that winner. But in my mind, the only proper risk was high day. Okay, so let's get into some watches. Qubit looks like the weakest daily out of the bunch. QBTS did fail, still up near its highs. RGTA did fail, still up near its highs. Qubit never really pushed, so this one's just been sitting near support, and you've got now this higher low trend break here. So that one looks the weakest out of the bunch. The other ones have kind of broken out and now pulling back. So no real plans on those quantum names. I just kind of expect them to be a bit more choppy. They weren't really A+ opportunities for me originally. They were a bit hard to trade, so I probably don't really focus on those anyways. OPTT, this breakout did not gap up, which was definitely a trend change. Where you get this breakout, gap to gap to gap. You get this breakout, gaps up. So this breakout, you'd expect gaps. So on a gap down there. Nito, this one's definitely going to be into A+ territory for me. If you recall yesterday, my comments on it were this sideways. If we get a gap down, I wouldn't be looking to short it, but I'd be looking for fades into 120s was the level I had said. So we're right into that range now, right at lows at market close. So I was either going to be looking for it to continue to fade to 120s or consolidate and lick trap. And we got the fade. So one of those two scenarios I was prepared for. So now going into tomorrow, we've got this big volume profile level here, prior resistance and prior support. So I like weak opens versus prior day's lows. I think this has room back up to $2 if it wants to bounce. So we'll be looking for red to green shoves, opening range highs, confirmation, and we'll be looking to trade a backside bounce here. Has respected red to green the entire move, so is definitely a clean mover. I think has opportunity in it tomorrow. MBOT, those candles kind of screw up the daily, but it's just a big wick that got absorbed because it got bought up into the close. Smoked their after hours. Let's see what kind of news we got, if anything. Closing of registered direct offering. Medical raises a total of approximately $11 million in gross proceeds from the offering. Yeah, it's not really negative news. It's just rehashed. But as long as this 220s level continues to hold, I think shorts are definitely in there. We had this offering right here, and it didn't fail that 220s I was looking for that 180s red roll. So now with the closing, I imagine shorts just hammered the word offering again. So for lower, I need to see this 220, 230 level fail. Otherwise, it could start to trap. So same kind of thing, just waiting for it to break out of this channel now. Kit, GFAI. I didn't trade any of these other ones, just given their gap downs were too much. GFAI, ARBE, FCUV. This one's still holding up near its highs. Still holding up. Not going to take that one off watch. Serve pulled back. This was also part of the reason why I'm trying to lean MBOT. Plan yesterday was to use Serve as the anchor to pull the rest of that sector. We got that pull, but the rest of them just didn't stay heavy. Fubo, definitely some range. A couple guys saying how big of an op this was today. I just don't really see it, to be honest. Like, this news is pretty impressive. Still holding up. Like, everyone from yesterday is still bagged. So yes, you got that gap up and fail by close, but everyone from this day is still underwater. And now I imagine that we've had all this weakness today. People are going to be looking to short pops on it tomorrow. So if this traps tomorrow, I wouldn't be shocked to see this thing higher. So I probably avoid this to the short side again. Sometimes that's just the way it is. Well done. Well done. Neato, my top watch tomorrow. Nice. Where do you find upcoming offering news? Finding upcoming offering news is like finding a stock that can do an offering in the future is more a filings thing, seeing if they need cash, if they have shelves available, registered, and ready to roll. Upcoming offering news is more of a guessing game. You don't find it. The stuff I was looking at just a moment ago was the closing of an offering that came from a prior day. Boxel, I'd look for something similar to Neato on this one. We've got volume completely dropping off. So this could get buy-ins coming soon. Ideally, fades off a bit further from these mid ones. Ideally drops off a bit and just slowly fizzles tomorrow. Same thing Neato did, where it just gaps down and fades to lows. If I can get something like that on Boxel, where it just gaps down and fizzles out, could be a backside bounce potential. Soon, I'm not going to write this one off. I think a lot of people would. You can see all my lines here. We've got tons of congestion here overhead. Anyone who missed the fade straight down today, I think just kind of writes it off as they missed the trade. So I think that there's still opportunity on morning strength back up into the 18s. If we look at something like this, you can see this 19, 18. If this breaks down, this is the last support level before another buck 50, almost $2 lower. So if those mid 17s give way, you've got room down to 16 now. So I think this is into that little liquidity pocket we discussed yesterday. So I'd be looking for pops back up in today's resistance for a fade back down to 16. LiDAR, I think this one has quiet potential. Blew out today. Hasn't gone red in 1, 2, 3, 4 days with this volume and range expansion. Definitely got a lot of people underwater. Would use 320s as a guide. And as long as this holds red, I think could have a quiet fader back down to the low 2s. Yeah, DATS is wild. So this was one of those ones where it's an avoid for me tomorrow. This is the hot name. Let it do its thing, pick up the pieces later. But that's insane. Just steady highs all day. There's a buyer in there. Crazy. Sauna, this one had, I believe, diabetes news. Where was it like a cure or something, but they did it on like one patient. Let me look here. Yeah, cured a patient for type 1 diabetes, but it was only one person. They have I believe it's got a big short float too. Saw a few people mention it on Twitter. 35% short interest. So it's definitely got a lot of shorts in there. You kind of got that battle of people. Judah had mentioned it's like the battle of longs versus shorts, where longs are buying it because they cured a patient of type 1 diabetes. Shorts are shorting it because they only cured one person. So the same PR can be interpreted two very different ways. And that's where you get the battle from. So this will be another one. Just hope for higher, but no real plan on that one. And then Hoth, this would be similar to Boxel, to me, where you get that morning move, sideways the rest of the day. There's enough people underwater on a day 2 that I think it could have like a quiet fizzle, something like this off the open. You get that big move off the open, sideways, gap down, pops into prior resistance, just has, it's not crazy, but you get 20, 30 cent fade. So could be something here. Or any pops back up into prior day's resistance, get 30, 50 cent fade. And then a couple other AI names. SES, I was looking for that breakout that just never came. I don't need this trend line anymore. Come on. Come on. It won't delete. There we go. Put this one back on. So we had this double bottom here in the 180s. Broke down today, and then with all those other sector names pulling back, stuff like Soon, for example, AI name failing to follow through, SES could start to follow with it. So we got this big channel breakdown in the 180s. So any pops back up into that. Very good setup here, bouncy ball setup, where you get this daily chart breakdown level in the 180s. And let it chop, chop, chop right on the lows. SSR was probably on around here, so you would have had to be getting in a bit prematurely, but Technical wise, very nice setup. Set its morning lows, chops around, bouncy ball, all lower highs, and then you get 15, 20 cents stress free. So all pops back into those 180s. I like the looks for sector weakness. Same thing with BBAI. This one needs to break this 390s 4 level. So this one hasn't broke down yet, but if it confirms today's daily bar range, then could get a backside move. These are all quiet, bigger picture ideas. Just to the short side. I just assume all small caps are going to do an offering. That's safe, yeah. Boxel, maybe do what BDMD did Friday. That one's still holding up, actually. BDMD, that daily hasn't gone away. I'd prefer for the wicks to be on the bottom side of the candles, but this one could still break out. Not really a breakout I'd want to play, but if 8 breaks and builds, could see higher prices. But you're saying Boxel might do that. Yeah, I don't know. Could. Give me a moment. One moment. Sorry about that. Okay. Where was I? DATS had solid news, you believe? Let me see if there was any. I thought DATS was just a chat pump to start it off. Yeah, I don't see any news on it today. But there was a chat room that was pumping it. Twitter and Discord. That could have got it going. It did have a... Whoa. It's just weird that it was up so early in pre-market, but I don't see any news. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no news on DATS. I didn't think so. It's weird that it was up over here at 4 a.m. Usually, like, you can get some of those pump names that volume will come in and people are like, it's just a chaser's market. So like volume would come in a chat room and most of them, 90% of the time, they pop and drop. But if they just catch a bid, then they end up something like this. But it's just weird that it happened so early when it started getting attention. So for me, for plans for tomorrow, will be Nito main watch for a backside bounce for screen day. I will look at Soon, pops back into prior day's resistance, and look for 1750 confirmation. LiDAR, same kind of thing, 320s as a guide. Look for it to fade red, and then possible low twos. And then SES and BBAI would be Soon sympathies in that AI basket as daily failed fall through setups. Daily failed fall through is working right now. So I will try and keep those daily patterns on watch just because that's what's being rewarded right now. So people are chasing everything on the front side, but once you get this choppy action, it's off most people. Like, I guarantee you, nobody in this chat right now has SES on watch, and that's exactly what I want. So everyone was buying it and chasing it here, and now that it's off everybody's radar, there's no one left to buy. You get sector weakness as the tailwind, and anyone who's still holding is just getting out. So I think pops hit bag holders. Not really sure what I want to do with Fubo either. Like, part of me wants to short it, but everybody wants to short this thing, and the news still seems good. There's nobody underwater. Few people from today, but crazy pull. FFIE slowly giving back its run. This would be something, right? So everybody's chasing it, goes off everybody's radar, and then just slowly trickles back. What are you looking for with the volume profile? What I look for volume profile is because most of the setups I trade is off of a daily chart to sort of give me a bias in terms of what pattern I'm trading. So, for example, something like Nito. This is a daily chart pattern where I get a big multi-day run on the front side, multi-day pullback, and then look for a bounce on the backside. So when I'm looking for where it could find support and where it could find resistance, on the daily, you can see here in the low ones is a huge volume profile support level. And if I zoom to something like a 15-minute, maybe a 5-minute, be a bit closer, you can see here in the low ones is huge support right where it's pulling back into. So not only do you have the technical support in the 120s, but right below it in the 110s, you've got volume support. And then all the way up here till 210, these are all super tiny volume profile levels until it starts to peak up right here. So I see this as an opportunity of range, low ones to low twos. So like, say for example, pre-market tomorrow, I'm looking at this for a long off of week opens, but say at 7 a.m. tomorrow, this thing puts out a PR relating it to robotics. You know, hey, Nito, we are a robotics company. Look at us. And this thing runs from this low all the way up to the mid twos. That would now be a short into resistance opportunity for me because that's the goal I was looking for on the long. And now it's pushing straight up into there. That's a possible short into resistance opportunity. But my plan on it is week opens, let the market open, get flushes into the low ones, and then use this range of a liquidity pocket to snag a little profit. So usually I use the volume profile on an intradaily, what I call it, like a 5-day, 15-minute or something like that. You can see stuff like this, like QBTS, huge volume profile here, 9 plus. Now it's failing below 9, so pops back into 9, should have some trouble. RGTI, not a whole lot of volume resistance up there. It's more closer down here. Qubit, this one I was saying looks the weakest on the daily. Volume profile here in this 17 to 18 range. So now it's breaking below 16s. So pops back into that volume profile level, should meet some trouble. You can see MBOT right where this volume is. This one's way down here. Maybe this one wants to fade some more. First red day today, but just had no range. Alrighty, I think we'll leave it there. Sounds good, everybody? Leave it there. Reminder, January 9th, market is closed. That's on Thursday. So I'll probably be back on Thursday evening to do the watch list for Friday. Probably nothing coming out tomorrow. There's no point. Alrighty, sounds good, guys. Thank you for tuning in, as always. Get in where you fit in and make some memories. And let's keep the new year strong. Try not to trade like soon tomorrow. Try not to cover so soon. Alrighty, take it easy, guys. See you later.